How do I look? Just kidding. Hi, my name's Kayla. I own the Garden Groomer. For those that have just found us, we posted a video earlier about some major changes that we have with the company coming up. We just acquired a new property and our company is growing. And so we got some questions about what all our business does, as well as how we got started and just some kind of more business end questions. So I thought I would just take a moment to address some of that and kind of go through it. First thing I kind of want to talk about is how we got started. I quite literally got started by moving to a new city. I moved to Des Moines about 11 years ago or so, and just to get to know my neighbors and my friends and people in my community, I started offering garden and yard work to folks. Just come trim their shrubs, come weed their gardens, and then it kind of just organically snowballed. People started referring me to folks, and before I knew it, I was busier with my passion project, gardening for people, than I was with my full-time job. So I quit my job in 2017. All right, we had to do a little shifty shift. Our camera was fogging up in the greenhouse. Not used to filming in a greenhouse, so we'll get there. Anyways, I think I left off kind of by talking about how I quit my full-time job that I had. I was managing a gym at the time and went down to our local small business development center. And that was where I gathered pretty much everything I needed to know to legally and properly start a business on the back end. They were able to help me get set up with an accountant, a bookkeeper, as well as an insurance company for business insurance. And that was one of the questions that we had got in a previous video, was how do we work on people's properties legally, and how does that liability work? Luckily, with gardening work, we're kind of in that little gray area where in Iowa, you don't need a license to do any of the work. You do have to be insured, which I am. And I went through a local insurance company here in town to get the proper insurance. And really, when you go into the insurance office, you pretty much explain to them what your business is, what it entails. They'll probably ask some questions on, are you digging 12 to 48 inches into the ground? Is there a chance you can hit pipes and electrical? Are you having folks climb up on ladders? Is there a higher liability for people going above a first-story floor? And I had answered all those questions for what I thought was appropriate at the time. And then as we've grown, I've had to kind of go back and revisit that policy a little bit. But here in Iowa, I just have a basic liability insurance for my company as well as me. Our staff are considered subcontractors, so they have to carry their own insurance to walk onto a client's property. So that kind of takes care of all of our insurance and liability stuff. For any work that we do that requires a bit more licensing or a bit heavy duty insurance, more encompassing insurance, we hire that out. And that would be things like installing patios, maybe drain tiles or French drain systems, walkways, any sort of retaining wall that's over 12 inches high, anything of that nature. We actually just hire that out to a local landscaper, and then we come in and do the gardening. But if you're simply gardening for people, mowing lawns, the insurance policy is pretty basic and pretty low, and it's like normal insurance. If you don't have any problems or God, what's the word I want to use? What's that? Claims. If you don't have any claims, you don't have any issues, your insurance does go down over time, which is really nice. So that's kind of how we cover our liability being on folks' properties. We do have rules where we don't install retaining walls over 1 foot. I don't do anything that has that it goes above like a second-story window. So if we're trimming trees, things like that, as long as we can reach it with an 8-foot ladder, that's our max. We're not doing any major tree trimming or anything like that. We stick to ornamentals. So that just kind of keeps us good and in the clear. And then we just hire out for stuff that we don't necessarily have insurance that covers it. The other thing I got asked was just how we got started and what that kind of looked like on the business end. I'm a very organized person. I am very type A and organized and very structured, but I'm also really old school. For the first gosh, embarrassingly, for the first like 3 years, couple years, I was very pen and paper. Our schedule was written literally on a paper calendar. Invoicing was pretty manual at first, although by year 2, I invested in QuickBooks. I'm not an advocate for QuickBooks. I mean, I do like QuickBooks. I'm not advertising or anything, but I just use your basic QuickBooks Online program. And through QuickBooks, you can track your expenses, you can track your invoicing, any inventory that you might have. It's all really easy, like kind of just like anyone can sort of figure it out. It's not super robust that it's hard to work with. Excuse me. So I started off with QuickBooks, and we still actually use QuickBooks to this day. But again, everything outside of that was very manual, even to the point where at the end of each working day, my staff would just text me their hours, and I would write it down on a piece of paper and do math. So when it came to paying my staff, I would quite literally take a calculator and add up their hours and multiply it by their hourly rate. Same thing with invoicing. I would figure out how many hours we were at a property, how much materials we used, do the math, throw it in QuickBooks and send it. It was very, very humble beginnings. When it came to equipment and tools to begin with, I was a thrifter. I mean, I'm still somewhat of a thrifter, but I would go to estate sales, your local Goodwills. We have Habitat for Humanity stores around here. I would go anywhere and everywhere just to buy a used shovel. I've since graduated from that a little bit, but when I started, I just believed in like a no debt business. I didn't want to start in any debt, so I didn't want to go out and get loans to buy big pieces of equipment or buy all this machinery. I was like, if I don't have the money in my bank account to pay for this shovel, I'm not buying this shovel until I book another gig. And that's just kind of the mindset that I adopted. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I just firmly believed in not starting off a new company by applying for a big loan, not really knowing what was going to happen. And then since then we've progressed, you know, after pen and paper, I then kind of graduated to implementing a Google spreadsheet document that I would share with each individual employee, and they could get on there and record their hours at the end of the day. So when it came to invoicing, I would just go back to my computer, pull up each Excel spreadsheet, find their hours, and we even had it auto-populate, you know, their hours for the week and what that pay was. So we started upgrading slowly. And then we did utilize Apple Calendar a lot because I somehow kept lucking out and hiring folks with Apple iPhones. So we'd use the Apple Calendar a lot, which was great because you can input the address right there. You can leave notes in the event, so the crew knew where they were going, what time they needed to be there, and what was on the docket for that day. But within the last year, we've really made some huge improvements. We are still using QuickBooks. I have invested in a kind of bigger and better accountant who really keeps an eye on all of my books and all of our expenses, and kind of helps us stay on track. And then we've invested in a CRM. And I chose Jobber. We did some research over a few years to find the program that would work best for us. And we kind of fit into like the landscape and lawn care realm. So I was looking at CRMs that do best for those folks, and Jobber just kept coming up. It is decently affordable as well. We just pay like an annual fee, but this CRM has made, oh my God, it has made a world of a difference. I mean, it tracks my staff's hours. You obviously have all your clients on there. There is a scheduler on there. There's even like a route density kind of map where you can arrange your schedule to where it is most convenient for the crew to be driving around instead of, you know, we're on the west side for the morning and the east side for the evening. It kind of just condenses it down so my crew's driving less, which is really nice. That was a huge game changer for us, upgrading to that. It's just made everything a bit more seamless, a bit easier. It's taken my day-to-day tasks a lot less. I'm not sitting there on a piece of paper telling my crew where to go and texting them the exact things they need to do. So that's been really nice. Other than that, kind of going into just what all we do for our company. We started small. I started off where I am just doing maintenance. I am just coming to your property to rake leaves, give your beds a mulch refresh in the spring, maybe plant some plants here and there, but even in the beginning, I didn't really do that. We were just weeding, trimming, cleaning, strictly garden maintenance. And then every year I would kind of add on a few new tasks, a few new services, if you will. So then we started doing planting, where we'd go out, buy a bunch of plants, go back to the client's house, install them. Again, humble beginnings. I would quite literally go to like Walmart and Home Depot before I even discovered all the wholesale local nurseries, and would just make it happen, make it work. And then we started transitioning into like full landscape installs, where I'll hire a company to come in, carve out the beds, install the edging, and get the grass removed and whatnot. And then we would come in with loads of plants from a wholesale nursery, and start installing and stuff. And it's getting easier, but at the same time getting harder, because we just keep adding services on. If there is one tip I can give to anybody, and I am by no means an expert, I will say that until I'm blue in the face. Don't go beyond your means. Like stay in your lane for a minute, right? I mean, there's something to be said about expanding your services and adding on, upselling, yes, all of that. But I would slow grow. Like I wouldn't go on and offer 60 different services when I barely know what my main bread and butter service is. And that's kind of what we did. I mean, we're in year 7 now, and every year we kind of expand out as to what we're doing, how we're doing it, as well as our rates. I feel like that's probably a question a lot of people think about when they're starting a business is, how do I charge? What do I charge? Again, not a business expert. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to charge, but at the end of the day, all you really need to do is figure out your expenses. What are your operating expenses? Are you renting out a space? Do you have payroll? Do you have insurance? You should. Do you have QuickBooks? Do you have a CRM? Anything that is just an expense to keep your business running, start there, and then build out like how much is your time worth, right? Like, I mean, are you trying to only make 20 bucks an hour? Or are you trying to make $100 an hour? I liked calculating my income in weeks. It somehow just made it more fathomable to me. And so I would take my expenses for a week, times that by whatever I felt like I wanted my income to be, and then broke it down to that's what my rates are. And we do increase our rates a little bit, usually every 2 years or so. It is hard. It's not an easy thing to do. I do lose clients over it. But after 7 years of being in business, we are more efficient, we are quicker, we are more experienced, and we just deserve to get paid a little bit more. Speaking of experience, something like my company specifically, I would say doesn't necessarily require any special schooling or lessons. Yes, if you have a horticulture degree or even a business degree, or you want to go get one of those things, absolutely it's going to help you tenfold. And honestly, you'll be able to start your pricing structure a little bit higher than I probably did. But I don't have any of that. I graduated high school at the age of 17, moved across the country, and I just had this firm belief that I didn't want to spend money to learn how to make money. I just wanted to start making money and dive into the workforce, and then the rest will come. And luckily that's exactly what happened. Like I said, I didn't go to business school. I don't have a horticulture degree. Instead, what I do is just learn by experience. You get on someone's property, whether you're window cleaning, landscaping, gardening, mowing a lawn, doesn't matter. Start with the people closest to you, your friends, your family, your neighbors, people who don't mind if you maybe make a little mistake here and there because you're learning, and the rest will come. Like you won't make the same mistake twice. If you make one mistake, you're gonna fix that, and you're only gonna get better moving forward. Now, there are lots of things, depending on your area, that you can do to gain more experience and sort of do continual education. For example, the crew and I are actually taking the day off next week to go up to our Iowa State Extension office. They're doing a course on actually how to grow in ground in a high tunnel or in a greenhouse. And if you've watched any videos before this, you will learn that we just purchased and acquired this beautiful new property that does come with this big greenhouse. And I've never operated a greenhouse. I know nothing about this thing. Okay, I know that you can grow plants in it, and that it gets really warm. Hence why I keep stepping out. It's really hot in here. But I don't know how to grow in it, whether it's in ground or on a table. I don't even know, do the pipes freeze in here in the winter? How do I water my plants in the winter? all of those things. Luckily, the previous owner is really, really kind, and she's answering any questions I have on how to use this. But we're gonna go up to this free class. It's a full day long course, and they teach you how to grow in the ground here. And so we just plan to keep utilizing things like that. Your local, possibly like your DNR or your local colleges will have free classes and courses that are meant to educate the community on how to, well, for us, garden. Is that Luna? Oh, the one stopped barking. Having some neighborhood dogs bark at us. Hopefully it's not too loud. Anyway, there are numbers of ways to learn about your specific industry, or I'll kind of keep it close to home, our industry, gardening, landscaping, lawn care. I hope to be an outlet or a place of resource for you as we continue to learn how to operate and grow and garden in something like a greenhouse, or even in, you know, our gardens that we have here. We want to keep sharing that with you, and as we learn, we hope to help you learn and teach you how to do things. We will make mistakes along the way. That's just how it goes. I feel like you don't get better unless you make a mistake. Nobody's perfect. But outside of that, if you are looking at starting a gardening business, a lawn care business, I think just do it, just start. Just literally go tomorrow, buy your shovel, buy your rake, buy your lawnmower, whatever it is, go borrow one from the neighbor if you don't, and just start walking up and down your block and offering your service to folks. You might not make $1 million, right? I don't even make $1 million, but you can start somewhere, and just the more people in your community that know the services you offer, the more it'll just snowball. To kind of go back to the services that we all offer, like I said, our services have expanded and kind of changed over time. We've tried things that we didn't really like doing, so we nick that and we add different services. Our bread and butter for our company is the maintenance, which is what I started with, right? We come to your house every 2, 4, or 6 weeks to weed, clean, trim, plant, transplant. One of our favorite things that we call is a garden edit, where we come in and pretty much pull every plant up out of your garden, split and divide, remove the stuff that you don't want. Maybe it's invasive, maybe it's ugly, maybe it doesn't bloom for a long time, whatever it is. Remove the stuff you don't want, reposition your existing plantings in a more pleasing and organized manner, top it all off with a fresh coat of mulch, and then we're there every few weeks to kind of check on those plants, make sure they're getting adequate water. The other thing we do is fresh garden installs, where we come to maybe an empty space or a big chunk of lawn, and we rip up the lawn and install all new plantings and all new beds. And then other kind of fun stuff that we do would be the seasonal containers. So we come by usually, depending on the client, about 4 times a year. We'll come super early spring, like April, end of March, early April, and fill their pots with cool weather annuals. For us, that would be things like pansies and violas, to kind of give them that fresh spring color, especially for Easter. And then again, we'll come back in like May, June, update those planters to more of your warmer season annuals. I mean, that could be anything, you know, petunias and lantana. I mean, a number of things. It's kind of endless around here. Update it to the summer containers, and then we'll come again in the fall, maybe like September, swap those things out for your like sweet potato vines, your mums, some ornamental grasses, things that are really great for the fall season. And then usually in November, we come back, swap that out once more, and do the Christmas arrangements, where we stick your, you know, your evergreen branches and your dried hydrangea stems and whatever else you want to create more of a holiday look. That's probably one of my favorite tasks. No, that's not true. I kind of like it all, but it's fun to get creative at someone's house every year. Clients sometimes give us parameters, right? We'll ask them if they like what colors they like, or if there's a specific plant they really don't like for any reason, to at least hone in what we're picking. And then we go to a local wholesaler here in town, pick up a big batch of it, and then usually we spend like a day or two driving around all of our clients' houses and installing those planters. Okay, as I wrap up the video, I think the one last thing I kind of wanted to touch on was the structure of our business, right? So when I first started, and it was just me and maybe a friend here and there, I had my business just registered as a sole prop, so sole proprietor, meaning the business is me. That's it. I think a lot of photographers might be like that. Any company that's really just kind of small and it's just the sole person. But then as I grew and started hiring subcontractors to come in, I switched into now an LLC, which just takes the liability away from me personally. So if something happens to Garden Groomer, I am not necessarily responsible for it. It all falls on Garden Groomer, just to separate the two, which is really nice. I really won't go into that much more because I am not well versed in that. That is not my forte. I ask my amazing accountant all those questions, and he kind of helps me figure out what's going to be best for me. Every business is different. Other than that, I think that was probably a good little dump of Garden Groomer and how we got started, and kind of how we've been growing, and we hope to continue growing. And I hope that you guys are here to watch us continue growing and enjoy the journey, because I sure am. Other than that, thanks for watching. If you have more questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. Look at me being cheesy and YouTubey. Bye. Peace out.